Welcome to today's psychology show. My name is Patrick and I'm a PhD candidate in cognitive psychology. Today we delve into the phenomenon of catastrophizing, a cognitive distortion where we blow things out of proportion and imagine the worst possible outcomes. We'll journey into the realm of neuroscience, where we'll uncover why our brains sometimes hit the panic button over seemingly small things. Then we'll meet Anna, an accomplished pianist who worries so much about an upcoming concert that she thinks a small mistake could end her entire career. But don't worry, we will unravel this phenomenon and learn how to tame it. Before we delve into the depth of catastrophizing, I want to express my gratitude. It's your engagement and support that fuel the growth of this channel. So, if you find value in what we discussed today, I encourage you to share it with others. What is catastrophizing? Life is full of adventures, ups as well as downs. And our minds usually guide us through these ups and downs. But what happens when we start seeing problems everywhere? What happens when we start to predict storms in clear skies or see monsters in the shadows? That's catastrophizing. It's when we make small things seem huge and scary. And it's very common and can make us feel anxious and afraid. Perhaps you find yourself pondering the same question that has crossed my mind. Why does it happen? Let's switch gears and take a peek inside the brain. Imagine your brain as a magnificent orchestra with different sections playing together to create a symphony of your thoughts and emotions. But sometimes one section out of the orchestra goes rogue, and that's catastrophizing. Studies show that this is linked to the parts of the brain that deal with pain and danger. So, when these parts go haywire, they flood our minds with negative thoughts and all these emotions. Now, let me introduce you to Anna. She's a very talented pianist who's facing the biggest concert of her career. Meet Anna. Anna is no stranger to performing on stage. She played countless concerts, mesmerizing audiences with her musical talent. But as the date of the upcoming concert draws near, something shifts. Anna's mind becomes a battleground of worries and fears. She starts envisioning a scenario where one wrong note spells disaster. She sees disappointed faces and harsh reviews in the newspapers the next day. Her entire career hangs in the balance. Sounds familiar? That's catastrophizing in action, my friends. But here's the kicker. Catastrophizing isn't just a psychological phenomenon. It's deeply rooted in our brain's wiring. You see, our brains are wired to spot potential threats. It's kind of a survival mechanism which has been passed down from our ancestors. So when Anna fantasizes about her concert, her brain goes into overdrive, treating it like a life or death situation. Basically, it's like her brain's alarm system is sounding off without a real danger. So let's have a look at something called the Snowball Effect. Think of catastrophizing like a snowball rolling down a hill. It starts small, a negative thought here, a worry there. But as it rolls down, it picks up momentum, growing bigger and scarier with each turn. And before you know it, you're caught in an avalanche of anxiety. But here's the thing, the snowball only grows if there's snow on the ground. Similarly, catastrophizing thrives when we feed into those scary thoughts as well. So, how to stop the snowball? Now, imagining yourself standing on that snowy hill, watching the snowball of scary thoughts gain speed. But before it spirals out of control, pause and ask yourself these 3 questions. Is this scary thing really likely to happen? Could something positive happen instead? Am I underestimating my ability to handle it? Well, here are now some practical steps to tame catastrophizing. Let's roll up our sleeves and get practical. Here are the 4 steps to tame your thoughts. Step number 1, be aware. Think of yourself as a curious scientist, observing your thoughts with a very keen interest. Write each of them down, label them, and examine them closely. Are you seeing things in black and white? If so, label it as black and white thinking. Or are you rather making broad assumptions about your situation? Then label these thoughts as overgeneralizing. Or maybe you see the worst possible outcomes of situations happening. Then just put catastrophizing as a label on top of it. There are many labels for thoughts, so for your convenience, here is a list of the labels. Feel free to Google what's behind them, just to name a few that are really important. Mental filtering, should statements, jumping to conclusions, polarized thinking is very important, blaming as well, or another typical thought pattern, the pessimistic thinking. Remember, each thought is a piece of a puzzle. Write them all down and label them. Take your time. Do not rush to step number 2 before you don't have at least 15 thoughts on your paper. Or even better, write them down in a journal. That's even better. Step 2. Look at the consequences. Consider the worst case scenario realistically. What's the absolute worst that could happen? And more importantly, what would that mean in the grand scheme of things? For example, in case of Anna, playing the wrong note would not directly mean that her career is about to end. Maybe only a few people in the audience will even notice. So often you find that as bad as you predict, it might not even be. So in your journal, write the consequences on a separate page and make sure to leave enough space for step 3 and 4. Step 3. Question your thoughts. How often do these scary things actually happen? It's about being brutally honest with yourself and testing your beliefs against reality. Now, next to the consequences of your initial thoughts, write a very big yes if the thought has already happened in the past, and write a very big no if it didn't happen before. For all the yes replies, ask yourself now, how likely is it that they will happen in the exact same situation again? So be precise. Choose one of the following statements to rate them, from extremely unlikely all the way to very likely. You get the idea. If you find yourself experiencing intense emotions at any point, then it's important to seek professional help immediately. Otherwise, feel free to proceed to the final step. Step 4. Think differently. Instead of imagining the worst, try to think more positive. For example, in Anna's case, it could be that she reminds herself that mistakes happen even to the very best musicians. She could imagine also the audience being understanding as well as supportive, knowing that mistakes are part of a live performance, or maybe, well, they don't even notice the mistake in the first place. So please make sure to write your positive thoughts on the next page. Remember, this journey ain't easy. It requires effort, patience, and a certain grace towards yourself. But with each step, you find yourself moving away from the darkness of catastrophizing and towards the light of resilience. And that's, my friends, is a journey worth taking. I recommend you to complete this exercise with a minimum of 3 pages filled. Here are my final thoughts. Catastrophizing is like being lost in a maze of scary thoughts. But we have the power to find our way out. By understanding our thoughts and questioning them, we can break free. If catastrophizing is affecting you a lot, talking to a psychologist can really help. Life is complicated and our thoughts can make it feel even more so. But with the right tools, we can find clarity. Finally, I would like to thank you for joining me on this episode. Continue to question the status quo and continue to explore the depth of your mind.